Hi there, and welcome to the Ministry Media Show. My name is Ivan Fiyun, and you're watching a live video of our broadcast. And we're doing it on the group today because I think we'll have more reach on this specific broadcast. So, hello Robin, how are you? I'm blessed to have you on the show. This is Rainbow Gospel Radio's new show called Ministry Media, the Ministry Media Show. Yes, honored to have you, John Gray. Welcome to the show. We will start the official broadcast on radio in approximately 10 minutes. So we're just getting set up and get everything queued, and we're excited to have you. We're here in the studio in Sunning Hill. And I wanted to, when I do the show, I wanted to have good audio. So we're actually in a studio. To my left there's a big board with sound, and you can see good quality mic. On the broadcast, as you listen, you'll hear one of my producer, also to my right, actually not so faintly. We've started and tried this last week. The audio actually came out good, so we're very happy with that. And we encourage you, if you're watching by live stream, or we will also have WhatsApp available. You are welcome to send us comments and any questions that you have. We would love to interact with you and answer them. That is why this show exists. It's all about interaction and engagement, and it's going to be phenomenal. I'm very excited about it. So just interesting behind the scenes, if you're watching on live stream or on Facebook Live. Later on we'll have live stream on YouTube set up. We'll do that. While we are doing this show, we are doing multi-levels of media. We are broadcasting live on radio via Sam Broadcaster. We are live, going Facebook Live on Facebook, on the Rainbow Gospel Radio Facebook group. And I'm also recording it as a podcast and on Audacity, and that is going to go onto either a catch-up format or live as well. If you're looking at the live stream and you want to engage with us, you're welcome to just post a comment on live, on Facebook Live, or you're welcome to WhatsApp us, text at the moment. So just give us your name, and also then your comments or your questions. We'd love to answer them. And you'll hear the official introduction to the show in a couple of minutes. I'm going to get the Audacity going. That recording is going live. And it sounds amazing in my ears. We'll see how it goes out on the radio. That's amazing. The person on the other side is Ian De Brain, is my producer. He also has his own media ministry, so we are kindred spirits, if you will, and it's going to be very exciting. If you are there, I can see you're waving. If you want to just tell us where you're watching from, we'd really love for that to happen. We're 5 minutes away from going live. I'm going to put my audio on my ear here. You can see a little bit of behind the scenes. I don't know about you, but I love that. We're also working on the lighting a little bit, as you can see. There you go. That's a little bit better. And yes, if you're on Facebook Live right now, watching us, watching the Ministry Media Show, we're broadcasting it live. This is my second show. I'm very excited. I have my show notes in front of me, and what I've got is what I'm going to open with. But I have a mind map in front of me where I'm going to do teaching today on creating content for ministry. Hello Rian, welcome from Richards Bay. We are excited to have you. We heard about the incident that happened in one of your schools. I think it was in Richards Bay. The Kuno schools. You remember that incident?
No.
Right, it's one of the schools there. Created quite a stir in social media, and it has to do with ministry because there was a religious component. What did you think about that, Jon?
Yeah, that's
Rian, you chime in as well if you've got a view or thought. You're welcome to just post it there on Facebook Live. We'd love to collaborate with you as well.
yeah. I think there's two ways you can look at it. Obviously, the religious side, where it's sad that a school child has such a viewpoint.
You mean the influence wasn't as positive as it should have
Yeah.
been, especially since it's a Christian school, right?
Yes, but if you look at it as an example of how we as Christians can look at it, is just you can see the impact social media has on something. How the
And how
whole South
quickly-
Africa knew about that specific incident.
I'm always, sorry for interrupting you, I'm always interested about how quickly negative publicity spreads than
Yeah.
positive publicity, and that's really my heart. That's why I'm doing this show. That's why I've created the platforms that I'm on. It is to get people to understand that they can influence people positively by creating positive content. And so he didn't create that. He wanted to create a conversation, I think. The perception was negative, especially from the Christian community, and it just went viral. It's a
Yeah.
language that we used for something that was picked up, and a lot of people responded to. And that, I don't know if you've seen that video. I really saw that pastor.
From the dad.
That it was a pastor, wasn't it?
No,
From
it
a
was
local
dad.
church. Oh, okay.
It was a dad, yeah.
But anyway, I could see his heart was just broken, and so that came through the video, and that was really interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and all of that content be 2 minutes before the actual show starts. So, Rian, your presence had an influence on the show, and we actually had a discussion because of you joining. So, thank you very much for joining us. We are 2 minutes away from going live. We're live on Facebook, and one of these days, in one of the next shows, we'll be live on YouTube as well. We've got a WhatsApp number that I've been able to organize this week. So if you want to interact with us, you don't have Facebook. Obviously, I'm speaking to the wrong people, but you're welcome to also use WhatsApp if you're going to be away from Facebook Live or Facebook for a minute and you want to participate in the show. We'll find out what the apps are that you can download so you can get the show on there. But you can go and interact with us on WhatsApp 072 452 0758. And 1 minute to go. 1 2 1 2. You want just do a check for us?
Testing 1 2 testing.
Okay, and as soon as we are going, we're going live in a minute, a couple seconds.
Testing 1 2 testing.
Rian from Richards Bay. I really appreciated that, Rian. If you're still on, I really appreciated that interaction. It really motivates us and it shows us that someone's listening, and we're very encouraged by your participation. So,
Testing.
actually done. Oh, there's a counter. We are going live. So if you're on Facebook Live, and the radio can't hear us. So we're listening to a song called Breakthrough by Red Rocks Worship. It's live. It's a live recording, and this is just content for the guys that's on Facebook Live. So Ian, I don't know if you've watched videos like the one about what was that song? Do you remember that? Have you seen the video about Raise a Hallelujah? There's one, it's not a lyric or performance video, it's actually the story beforehand. Have you seen that one? Okay, so it's about a boy, I think he had cancer, and the whole church just pulled together and prayed for him and stuff. So that's where that song was birthed out of.
Okay.
And yeah, that's exciting ministry media. Just a way to really minister to the world is to tell a story of how did something come to fruition, how did it actually exist. Yeah, have you any stories on that? Something that happened?
I haven't seen that video, so
So yeah, you must watch it. It's really awesome. And there's this amazing artist. He's at,
People on Facebook hear me.
I think so. I think so. If you cannot hear Eon, my producer, please just let us know on Facebook Live, but I think you can. We're about to just fade out this song and then we'll go live, but I just want to say, I don't know if you know Matthews Tlele. He wrote the song Yahweh.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to be at a Bible school together.
Okay.
So yeah, it was amazing, just the fact that we knew him, and he's now kind of like a gospel superstar. But that's amazing. So he also does great videos.
Yeah.
But obviously he's got the backing by Elevation Church and
Yeah.
Pastor T. Stephen Furtick, so that's amazing. Right, if you're on Facebook Live, I would love for you to just share with someone that you are live with us, and that we're going to learn about ministry media, and and that we're going to go into that a little bit. I think I should have. Okay, I think I did it the wrong way around. I didn't play the music. I had the mic on all the time, which is okay, because we were talking about the content that we were about to talk about. Okay, so the song I wanted to play, I will play just now when we feel led to or whatever. But if you're on listening online to the show, welcome. My name is Ivan Fiyun. I am a media coach for pastors and ministries, and I have the privilege of having a show called the Ministry Media Show here on Rainbow Gospel Radio, Missions Radio for the World. And our objective here is to help you get your message out to the world. And so yeah, I don't know. You've heard us just introduce it a little bit. We spoke of we spoke of ministry media in different facets, but I just want you to know that we are live on Facebook. If you go to the group Rainbow Gospel Radio, there's a group where you can interact. So this post is live, and people can obviously leave comments there. So you're welcome to do that. Also, if you're on the radio, you're listening to the radio right now, and you would want to participate in whatever we're doing, I would love you to participate. You can send us a WhatsApp text to 072 452 0758, and we'd love to interact with you. I'm actually going to just play 1 or 2 minutes of the song that I wanted to play, and then see if I can get the switch right. And thank you for your patience. This is the second time that I'm doing this show, and I'm very honored to do it, and I think it's awesome, and I think everybody should have some kind of outlet for their ministry. So we're going to play that, and while I'm playing it, it's actually good that it happened this way, because as I play this song, I want you to go and get a pen and a paper, because we're going to teach a little bit, and it's not going to be a preaching message. We're going to teach you how to unearth the gold that I believe that God has put inside of you, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. So let's go with Red Rocks Worship. Okay, so now I can hear the song here, and hello everybody, welcome to Facebook Live. My name is Ivan Fiyun. I am a media coach for pastors and ministries, and I'm absolutely privileged to have you on Facebook Live. You can't hear it, but in the background, on the radio, on air, we're playing a song by Red Rocks Worship called Breakthrough, and it's a live version. And if you want to go back at some point, you can just go back in this video and go and listen to how we introduced the show, etc. But we're doing it live on Facebook Live because we want to engage and interact with you as an audience. You are on Rainbow Gospel Radio, the Facebook group, because obviously you're hungry for the gospel, but also for what we do here. And I'm very privileged to be in this position, and just I was inspired to do this. Hello Ria, welcome to the live show. I think you're also listening, so thank you. If you have any question, Ria, I know you've been waiting for the show to launch, and if you have any questions for me, I would love for you to post them on Facebook. I would answer them for you during the show, but today we're going to teach and we're going to go into what this show is really all about and why it exists. If you're listening on, if you're on live, on Facebook Live, you can't see him, but I've got a producer here. Very honored for him to be part of my journey. His name is Ion. So he just put his name is Ion the Brain, and he's got an exceptional media ministry. And I spoke to him last week on the show, and we had quite an interesting interaction. And so we're gonna put that show up live very soon on like a catch-up page, or we're gonna make it available as a podcast, etc. But I want you to know that I'm very hot. It is, but that is probably, there could be a couple of reasons. But we are excited, and we are going to, hello Amanda, welcome to the show. Amanda is a personal friend of mine. We've engaged on a couple of times, and I'm very privileged to have you here, Amanda. We're talking about ministry media, and if you have any questions, I would love to engage with you. We are going to fade out the song in a second, and I love this Facebook Live video because it gives you kind of a little bit of a behind the scenes look at it. I'm going to fade out the song, and then we're going to get back in, and then we're going to go into the purpose of the show, etc. If you're watching on Facebook Live, please let people know about it, share it, just call people, tell them to get on. We will also let you know in due course on the apps that you can download to get the show live, and then we can engage. It's almost 10 past, and I'm just going to look for a place. Awesome, Amanda. Thank you for the feedback. She says she's looking forward to listen to us. I appreciate it. And now I'm just looking for a kind of a break in the song. You can't hear the song, but I'm looking for a place where the song just kind of dips, and then I'll fade it out. Oh, Ian, I love this, man. This is like a dream come true for me. Amazing. Ian does this all the time, so he's just looking at me like, okay. Okay. Let's fade out. Hi there, my name is Simon Fune, and welcome to the Ministry Media Show. This is commissioned by God, and we have the privilege of being on Rainbow Gospel Radio, missions radio for the world. And missions is what we're all about, and we're going to talk today about content creation. And I'm going to use this opportunity to teach a little bit. My ministry is teaching, serving, and exhortation, and those are my gifts. Some of my gifts, if I can mention them. And what I really want to do is I want to encourage you to listen. I remember before we had the break. Hello, Mark, Pastor Mark Ellis. I'm absolutely honored for you to be on the broadcast. We are live on Rainbow Gospel Radio. Pastor Mark is also a broadcaster on Rainbow Gospel Radio, and we've interacted a couple of years ago. I'm absolutely privileged to have you on the show. Thank you, Pastor Mark. As we go along, just to catch up everybody, this show exists because we want to help believers get their message to who it is intended for. The tagline of everything we do is your message to the world, and that's what we want to talk about today. So that's what we want to talk about today. Hello, Pastor Mark. And so before we had the song go on, we were speaking about getting a notepad and a pen because we're going to teach. And this is not going to be a preaching session, which could be a bit refreshing to some people, because we're going to do practical, and we're going to talk about practical things on, okay, how do I become a media minister? We were talking last week, Ian, about the fact that not all of us have the opportunity to have a pulpit ministry. Yes, you could set up missions and welfare and go out, but we don't all have that opportunity. So what I'm really passionate about is for people to understand that they have a message. They have gold inside of them, and I believe that it needs to get out to the world.
Yeah, I think God has placed a calling on all of us, and I think sometimes the tools are out there to do it. I just think we don't always know of the tools, or we don't know how to use them.
Yes.
And I think that's where you came in.
That's exactly what this is about. So before we talk about the methods all the platforms, and all those things is really exciting. So we're going to share with you in the future, okay, how do I build this platform where there's multiple media channels and formats going out and people engaging with us, and we're building a community. How do we do that? What do we do? Before we get to all of that, we need to talk about you. We need to talk about the fact Pastor Henny Roo is online on Facebook Live, and he's just given me a like and a comment. So Pastor Henny, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. So before we get to all of these methods on how I create media and the media channels that you can use, etc., I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on specifically your message. All right, so let's start with, today I want to focus on developing your message as a media minister. Now, last week, if you listened to us, you would have heard how we started this journey 12 years ago, and we created media in lots of different formats, created websites, engaged with young people on devices, and we created, we made messages interesting by overlaying it with music and cutting it shorter and all those kind of things. So that was the intro to that. Today I want to focus on developing your message, and I want to just teach this, and I want you to make notes. So let's talk about developing your message as a media minister or a believer that will use media to get to and reach people. First thing that you've got to do is you've got to answer this question to yourself. What have I been called to do? Right? What have I been called to do? And if you're on Facebook Live, I want to invite you to just leave us a comment and ask us a question there so we can interact with you. And also, if you are listening on the radio, we have a way for you to interact with us as well. Go to WhatsApp, load Rainbow Gospel Radio as a contact, and go to 072 452 0758, and you can just pop us a WhatsApp, let us know your name, and then ask your question or make your statement. We would love to include you in the show, because this is not supposed to be just about me. Yes, I have some things to bring, but I think it's going to be a very effective conversation when we get people involved in the conversation. Jon, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we all have a calling. I think that is, without answering that, or without knowing the answer to that first question, don't even try to pursue going into this route. So you must be called. So
I think, Jon, you and me, we are probably the wrong people to do a teaching on this, but I think we can just speak about experience. What we need to know, what have we been called to do, right? Yes. And so let's talk about that. When was the moment in your life when you realized, listen, I am called to work in media and minister to people in that way? What was the moment that the light went on for you?
For me, God took me on a journey. It wasn't a specific moment, it was a journey. If I can go back, I got saved when I was 16, 17. A few months later, God said He wants to use me in music. And that's where it started. It's something completely different, but with music, He gave me the knowledge with sound engineering, production, and then later on I had friends that wanted a music video, and I used their camera and I made a music video for them. And that's where the camera started. And then one thing led to another till where I am today. So for me, it wasn't a specific thing. God just, because I had to grow. If I go back 20 years ago, I didn't know much. So slowly but surely, God took me on a journey, and it's the same with the disciples. They had to walk with God 3 years before God sent them out.
Jon, while we're talking about this, just want to welcome the new people that's listening on the show itself, but also on Facebook Live. We love for you to interact with us and give us your comments and statements. Remember, you can do it on Facebook Live and also on WhatsApp 072 452 0758. And we're watching and we're listening. We just got a comment by Pastor Mark Ellis. Pastor Mark, I don't remember where you are. I think you're in KZN, I'm not sure. But he says, many people who use media are accused of being self-promoting. Have you avoided or remedied? How have you remedied that perspective? And that's a good question.
That's a brilliant question.
So you have this balance. We have this in welfare as well. We need to tell people what our welfare activities are so they can buy in the vision of what we're doing. But we don't want it to be, I actually have someone in my group which we were taking photos and stuff, and she was like, okay, so when do we balance this with the scripture that says the one hand is not supposed to know what the other hand is doing? So let me hear your thoughts, then I'll share my thoughts, because that's a very good question from Pastor Mark. Thank you.
I think it is about the scale of your platform. For instance, you can take that same argument for a pastor Sunday at church. He's standing on stage on a pulpit, everybody's looking up to him. It's exactly the same as people look at you on a computer screen.
So let's make it real. It's a different platform,
It's a
correct?
different platform.
It's like you have a mega church, you're preaching, there's 10,000 people, hypothetically, or there's 1,000 people or whatever. Those people are connected to you emotionally, you're influencing them, etc. It's the same thing with media.
Yeah, and it still depends on that pastor or that minister. You can be a pastor in a small church where the congregation is 50 people, but he can get full of himself and pride can take over, and he can be the main guy in the church, or it can happen in media as well. So, but the other side as well is you can be on social media or on a media platform with millions of people watching, and you can be down to earth, and it's not about you. So it really depends on that minister. It can happen to anyone, whether you're on social media or just a normal pastor, or even not a pastor, a worship leader. I think that's one thing nowadays. I've seen a lot of social media where worship leaders became rock stars.
That's right.
So it can happen in any ministry. I think that is a good question.
So if you're listening on Facebook Live, I want to make sure that you got that. If you heard my producer, we are still working on the tools and the technology to get everything to work well. So if you heard what he said, just give us a thumbs up so we can confirm that. Something in Pastor Mark's message stood out for me. It's talking about self-promotion, right? And I think, especially on social media, I think if we keep the focus on Jesus and what He's doing, I think we'll be safe.
Yeah.
Because it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about us being the vessels and doing the work of God and so on.
And it comes back to your calling.
Yeah.
If God called you to do it, then you're obedient to Him, and everything will go back to Him. Where if you just do it because you feel this is a great way to
get some visibility for yourself.
If God didn't call you for it, then why are you doing it? You're doing it for yourself, not for God. It goes back to that original question. So
last week we spoke about make sure you're called, right? And the next step to that is what have I been called to do? And I think for you as a listener, pastor, believer, whoever you are, I'm passionate about this, and that's why I'm doing this. And I want you to know, you need to know exactly what have you been called to do, because that is going to influence everything that you do. And once you know what have you been called to do, and I mean the process for finding this out, even for me, it's just a self-discovery. You and me, I wanna just resonate what you said. What I'm doing today has not been just like that. It's been a journey where over time, being involved in media and different layers has been added to it. We've just realized, listen, this is what we're supposed to do. And so what are the signs that you know? One of them is obviously passion and happiness and fulfillment. What are some of the other signs that you know you're on the right track?
When things happen that you didn't expect. For instance, if I can quickly give an example, this animation series, we talked about it last week, that I'm currently busy with.
Yeah.
It took me 15 months to create this, but within a few months, without sponsors or anything, the finances was just available to pay everyone.
So you're saying that is one of the signs?
God is providing.
Where God leads, God provides, correct? Yeah. We've heard that before.
I think that is like confirmation. Mm-hmm. When doors open, sometimes I don't always like talking about when doors open, because sometimes we are forcing doors open.
That's right,
and then we say, but the door open is from God. So, a lot of times everything seems to fall in place at the right time. I think at the right time is the most important thing.
I wanna just agree with you, Ion, because you know, a lot of times it could be in that time where you're spending time with God, you're praying, you're in Bible school, wherever you are, you're in fellowship with other believers, and you know exactly what you think you're supposed to be doing. But you're frustrated because, like you said, not everything is not there.
Yeah.
And you have to just be patient and let God just let everything fall in place. Let God put the pieces into place and drive you in the right direction and connect you with the right people.
And one of the fruits of the Spirit is patience.
Yes.
So how can we grow patience if God just gives us everything now?
and the other thing that people say is, what would you need faith for?
Mm-hmm.
We have 9 people on Facebook Live. Isn't that amazing?
Awesome.
You're on Facebook Live. You're listening to also on the radio. You just tuned in. I want to acknowledge both those audiences. You are listening to the Ministry Media Show. My name is Ivan Fiyun. I have a host here, actually my producer, Ion the Brain, who's also very, very successful in ministry media. And we're talking about you and getting your message to the world and talking about the processes of getting it there. If you're on Facebook Live, please feel free to leave us a comment or a thought or ask a question. And also we are on WhatsApp, 072-452-0758. If you're listening on the radio and you want a way to connect with us and interact with us, we'd love to hear from you. Please post your name and then your question or your statement. We'd love to interact with you. So Ian, for me, the next question, I'm not sure what I'm called to do. And how does media play into that? That's the next question that we have to ask. And so how I process this for myself, the way that I know is I need to find out who am I called to minister to, because your message is not necessarily for everybody. Look, if it's a gospel message, definitely, but
it's a package.
Yes.
How you deliver it.
What is your context? What is your testimony, etc.? All that will influence. So we can preach a message, especially online, and we could touch a lot of people. But it's going to be much more effective if we're speaking to the correct audience.
Yeah.
So you can't preach a youth message in a church where there's young people. We just had Lily van Skalkwyk who tuned into the show. Welcome, Lily. And she says good morning. She's one of the presenters here as well. So Lily, we're talking about ministry media, and we'd love for you to ask a question or just give us a statement. We'll acknowledge you and we'll want you to be part of the show.
If I can go on to that question as well, in the business world we talk about your niche. What is your niche?
Yes.
Because if you can find your niche, your business will run more effective. You know who your target audience is. With the ministry, it's the same. God has called all of us for something. For instance, some people have a heart for kids. Other people have a heart for your elder people. Some people have a passion for bikers. So normally God will send you to where your passion lies.
Yes.
So I think that is your starting point. Because if you're going to start to minister to people, you don't. It's going to sound so wrong, but you don't have a passion for them.
That's what I was saying. If you have a youth message, and you constructed that message for youth, you can't go to an elderly home and preach it there. Or you might have a message to elderly people.
And you can't go to a bikers.
Exactly. So you know it's all about relevance, and it's also who are you going to be able to connect to. They need to be connect to you as well. So those questions, if I ask myself, who am I called to minister to, is a very important question, and that will influence the following things. For you that listening, yes, where you can make notes. It will influence how you speak. It will influence what are you supposed to say to them, or what are you going to say to them. The context where they are at, your audience, is also very important, because in communication you always need to look at what level are the people that I'm talking to at, and I need to build on that. So I might be up here high above my head, but other people actually above my knees, and my message is going over their heads. My experiences will also influence who am I going to minister to. Like, for instance, if I was in jail and I go to a prison and I share a message with them, that context and that story will relate to them. Yes, it could relate to a lot of other people, and there's a lot of spiritual applications for that, but that's just how it works.
Yeah.
So when you talk about who you've been called to, I also believe there's people that are called to countries. We see that all the time, especially ministries and new planting of churches, etc. And so I want to share something, just an idea. I haven't tested it or put it in place. I really want to do it. But let's say, for instance, you are hypothetically called, you feel called to start a ministry in Chechnya. Okay. Obviously, it's a language thing, so let's make it easier. Some place in New Zealand, right? You feel you're called to there, and so God is just leading you there, etc. What you can do with media is you can actually start creating content for them.
Yeah.
And have a campaign of 12, 6, 12, 18 months even. Where you create content here in South Africa and you publish it, you promote it via paid ads, etc. in that town in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And they consume it in various places. YouTube is great for that. Facebook is great for that. And then you can actually set up a platform that you can actually go there and have a very successful in-person campaign. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
I think, yeah, I haven't heard of anything like
but
that.
But it could work, right?
I'm just thinking, we've just mentioned that people need to relate to your message.
Yeah.
I think the biggest obstacle, and this is just me being not critical, but this is just how I always, when I think of something, I think what can be the obstacles.
Yeah, give me a second before you go. Can you just don't forget your thought. I just want to acknowledge we got a comment by Lily van Skalkwyk on Facebook Live, and if you want to just interact with us, you can do it via WhatsApp as well if you're not on Facebook Live. And our number is 072-452-0758. We'd love to interact with you. Leave us a text WhatsApp message and just give us your name and then your comment or your question. But Lily says, very interesting discussion. She's not a pastor, but she's trying to serve the Lord in every way she possibly can. And so Lily, I think you'll find lots of value in what we're doing here, because we're going to teach you not just, right today we're focusing on developing your message, but we're also teaching you the how and how that is happening. And we also have a new viewer called Belinda Rudolph. Hello Belinda, tell us a little bit about yourself. We'd love to interact with you and hear from you. Thank you, Ian, sorry for that.
No problem. Yeah, I'm just thinking something that might be an obstacle for someone going that route is, will someone in New Zealand resonate to someone in South Africa that doesn't? For instance, I always say an American pastor doesn't know the situation and circumstances here in South Africa.
Yes,
so
but we do get instances where a pastor or a rather large ministry, it could be a small ministry as well, where God called him specifically to go plant a church somewhere.
Yeah, I understand that, but for me to sit in South Africa to minister to people in New Zealand, will that resonate to them as much if they
as
know,
like an authentic, native local?
I think it will work better if I go and serve there and I see the circumstances, what are the issues, what are they struggling with, and then I can sit here in South Africa and say, listen, I've been there, and then there must be a connection. They must trust you.
Let's flip it around. We are, let's say I'm in South Africa,
yeah,
and I feel called to go to Ghana. We have a little bit more development here than there, and you might be called to there, and you have something to actually give there. So, I mean, remember there's other things as well, and this is the next point I wanted to bring up. What gifts and talents do you have that you've been given from above? So, and this is also influencing some of our previous discussions. I might be a leadership coach, and so it relates to ministry, and I'm called to raise up men, etc., etc. But I think that I might have something that is not necessarily available in that country or something like that.
Yeah, so I just think talking about niching down, I think
Yeah.
there must be a connection. Otherwise, there must be a trust factor.
Yes.
Someone in New Zealand must know. Okay, that guy, he knows what's going on here.
Okay.
He knows the circumstances. I can trust what he's saying.
Okay.
I think if someone talks in New Zealand, for instance, which is the crime there isn't as high as far as I know.
Okay.
If they talk about crime, and if someone South African listens to it, he doesn't know what we're facing. So, can you connect with that guy? Can you trust him? So, I think that is something you'll have to get right if you want to go that route.
So here's a question then. If I need to, you're making a good point. I'm not going to build a ministry in another country if I don't have the trust of the people, right? So let's say I have an 18-month plan. I use media to get myself visibility and just to connect with people and maybe start some kind of connection group. I go, let's say every 6 months, and I do like a little, but it needs to be groundwork, you know, feeding, building, those kind of things. And I do that, so I'm visible in person, at least for a week or two. I'm online, they can see me, and I use that in 18 months to build trust. And now I go and plant a ministry, I have a big event there. It's going to be easier for me to do it that way.
Something that I'm currently doing with my ministry, and I think this will actually almost answer that question of building trust.
Yeah.
I can't go to America and Australia and England, but what I am doing is I'm setting up online interviews with
people there.
With people that side.
Okay, so let me just, sorry for interacting there. That's one of the strategies that we teach is collaboration with other people.
Yes.
You are never going to have all the answers. That's why I'm doing this collaboration with you. You're making me a little bit more comfortable with the second portion of the show. You have a little bit more experience, a lot more experience than I do, and so that's what you bring to this experience. And so collaboration is a big part of it.
Because now I've done interviews now with people in America and Australia. So now Australians look at me and they know, okay, Ion, we know about it.
Yes.
Then a few months later I'll do another interview with another person from Australia. So all of a sudden the Australian people know me. There's a trust. I think if you do it that way, you can be successful. And then later on through that 18-month period.
So Ion is going touching on a point that we'll get to eventually. We'll go deeper in that, and that is collaborations with other people. So I want to mention it now because this is a great time to just mention that, and then I want to pause there and just give some airtime to some of our other presenters, just to promote them as well. Collaboration is a great tool, especially on media specifically. So media could be related to a lot of things. It could be your digital media, social media channels, it could be TV, it could be radio, all those kind of things. But collaboration is important because if you collaborate with someone else and they have an audience or a bigger audience than you, what's going to happen is you're going to get visibility to his audience. Same, there will be cross-pollination. And so you can grow your audience and also reach your influence a little bit further than that. Let's just pause there for a second. I want to just give some airplay and an exposure to one of our co-presenters, and we'll be back. So we're playing an ad for one of the other presenters in the background. You can't hear it because it's in my ear, and we are on Facebook Live. Ion, thank you so much. So far it's good, halfway there. Right, and so I see Stefan Petersen just joined. I think he's also part of the family. Stefan, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask and go through. I would love to interact with you. Just let's explain the levels of what's going on here. We've got Facebook Live there. We've got radio here. We're recording it on Audacity. We're recording it on Audacity for future. We are doing that with the Sun Broadcaster anyway. There you go. Okay, let's say Mark Ellis is giving us some feedback. I'll get back to that, Pastor Mark, as soon as we're back live on air. I want to do that. And we have a WhatsApp line, so if you want to interact
Die
with that.
woord kan ons ook praat.
Yes,
Training.
training,
Once you're called, you need to be trained.
definitely. So we'll relate to that and say that's kind of what the show is about. Is to, I just want to quickly view what Pastor Mark said here. It's
Really more, you know where that came in, where I saw it. In the music industry, Christian music industry, where I'm a part of, for what, 15 years. It will take a pastor so many years to study.
give me that thought.
Okay.
Let's go live with that. Right, and so we're back. My name is Ango Vien. You're listening to the Ministry Media Show here on Rainbow Gospel Radio, Missions Radio for the World. And the existence of this show, the objective and the instruction of God is how people get the message to the world. And so just in that break and when the music plays, Ian, you had a thought that you were sharing with us.
Yeah, I think this is the one part that nobody likes. Everybody wants to skip this part.
Yes.
And that is training.
You can't.
It is the most important thing, and I'm gonna
So
share.
what do you, just explain what do you mean by training? Is it I'm doing media, I need the media training, that's also important, but I also need some biblical foundations,
Yes,
right?
Yeah, that is the most important thing. Let me
But
give
you were talking about it last week and you said there's a big it's important, this process,
Yeah.
because you're going to go online, and a lot of people go online and they have media ministries, but they're not called or they've been trained and they cause
Yeah.
damage in the body of Christ.
Let me give you a quick example. There's a reason why Jesus walked for 3 years with his disciples, and only then he sent them out.
Mm.
So he could have called Peter out of the seas when he was busy fishing on day one and say, I want you to become fishers of men, and send them out.
Yes.
What will happen? Peter would have had no idea what to do, and he would have made a big mess of it.
True.
But he had to walk with Jesus for 3 years, learn from him, build a relationship with God, and only then, after 3 years, Peter was ready to go out and minister. If there's pastors listening now, I think they're all gonna comment amen when I say this. With Christian, and I'm not gonna diss Christian musicians. A lot of them are great people, and they're called by God. But there's I've been in the Christian music industry for 15 years, and what I've noticed, a pastor must study
To show himself approved.
yeah, and then he must be ordained. It's a whole process, and it takes years before he can stand on a pulpit and minister to the congregation.
It's like with our church, they are really great teachers, but they go through a process where they are watched, they are faithful, they serve for years before
Yes.
they are ordained as teachers.
Yes, and then you get Christian musicians. They haven't studied. Their qualification is they can sing, and that qualifies them to also stand on stage and minister. And you just think, but yes, that guy's got a talent. God wants to use him, but he's not. He doesn't have the biblical training or knowledge that a pastor has.
Yeah.
And a lot of pastors will agree with me, and I've seen it as well. They book a Christian musician to minister at the church,
Yes.
and that musician just
There's
mess-
no foundation. Yeah.
there's no foundation, and he messes up, and the pastor must just
Put out the fires
put out the
afterwards.
fires, and everybody's unhappy. And I think there's a lot of pastors who can relate to this, and it's because there's no training.
Yeah,
There's
so-
no training, or there's no platform that can train Christian musicians to say, this is what you do, this is what you're not supposed to do. And
So let me speak to that. Previously we spoke about Matthews Clearly. He's one of the singers. He wrote Yahweh
yeah,
at Elevations Church, and he's actually a good example of this. When he ministers, when he sings, you can definitely feel the connection that he has with God, and out of the depth that song was written. And Matthews actually went to Rhema, and he went through a 3-year Bible college course, ministry. I think it was ministry major,
yeah,
whatever. But he took a musical part of that, so it wasn't that much academic, but the basics and the foundations was taught to him over that time, and obviously he's progressed and
Yeah.
obviously I think studied more, but that's where he started. We were in the same class, and so that would be a great host or a great great guest on the show. That would be amazing. We must get him to call in once.
And if I could just, there's a counter argument to that.
Yes.
But you only need the anointing. You only need the Holy Spirit to lead you, and you'll be fine. In a way, yes, but that is not how Jesus operated. He first teaches his disciples for 3 years, and only then
the anointing came upon them.
only then the Holy Spirit filled them, and then they went out. So you need both.
I agree with you. I see this a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, and I get these people. I was like that before I went to Bible school. Came to Christ, full of fire, and then you just want to run, and so you get connected to these concepts like the anointing and God's fire and all that kind of stuff. But without the foundations of the gospel and biblical teaching, those things will just, you'll run with error. And I see it. I still have lots of people connected to me online, and they're just like on fire. They're like running with the fire and the anointing this and healings that and whatever. But if we don't have, I think at the end of the day, it's all about character as well.
I think we need to have a small mind change as well as Christians, because I was also guilty. I'm talking now out of experience because I've made the same mistakes.
Yeah.
Who will you trust more? A doctor with no degree, but that is passionate about what he's doing, or someone that has gone and studied and he knows what he's doing?
Yes.
That's the one you will trust. Passion won't get the job done by its own. So you need some
foundation.
and I think,
and there's actually a scripture for that. It says if you don't have a good foundation, your house will be blown over.
And I think we spoke about, the first question you need to ask is your calling, and then the next step. I think the first thing we need to do is, when we are called for something, the first question we need to ask God is, God, what do I need to do this? For instance, if you want to become a doctor one day, the first thing you're going to do is you need to go and study. That's the first thing you need, is to get your degree in medicine. I think the first thing we need to ask ourselves, or ask God, is, God, you have called me for this.
Yeah.
What do I need? If it is, if I need to go to a Bible college, then that's what I need to do. So I think that's the first thing we need to ask is, God, what do I need to fulfill
what
this
is
calling?
the step? So it's important that you follow God's plan, and that you know where you're going, and that's what we're talking about. And this is such an amazing program, because I'm looking through my notes here and everything that I can teach, and just not getting to everything like usual. But let's talk about the gifts and talents you have been given from above. So it could be it could be a fivefold calling that will influence the style that you do your media with. You could be a communicator, which will also influence it. You could be a networker, someone like me that just helps and has a gift of connecting people. Compassion and your resources will also influence that. And I think we have about 15 minutes left, and we're going to go, I don't know if we'll go into any other content. I want to next week speak about what you said this week about developing your message and it being specific. And we're going to break that down next week a little bit. We've got a question here from Pastor Mark. He's actually left 2 comments already. So, sorry, Pastor Mark. First one was, it's always easy if God is in it. Then, if believers face resistance, should they conclude that God has not called them, or should they, like Paul, continue forward regardless of the obstacles that they are facing? And I resonate with this, because when I started my media ministry, there was this big explosion, lots of attention and whatever, and I got written about in blogs, and the community where I was blogging, they persecuted me. And so that was in 2008. It was a year or two after. It was 3 years after I came to Christ. And so that was just 2008. I got, guys, persecution is real, and people are going to be critical of what you do. And that is why it's very important that you understand your calling. Because if you understand that, nothing's going to deter you from what you're supposed to do. And for me, it was like, I was so full of pride and what I'm called for this and I'm supposed to do this and stuff, and because of that persecution, it created like radio silence for a long time, and I only got back into it a couple of years later, and it's really hurtful when that happens. So to answer the question, I think you need to know, is this what God called me for? And if the persecution comes and whatever, then you just carry on. Paul had the same, Pastor Mark's right, Paul had the same situation, and he just carried on. I mean, even Peter persecuted him, and he said, yeah, but this is not right and whatever, and both of them had different paths they had to walk out.
But the way I see resistance or persecution is, in my own personal life, the day that stops, I'm gonna be worried, because then it means I'm no threat for the enemy. That's how I look at it. As long as there's resistance and people trying to, okay, first of all, you need to be called. You need to be in the calling of God. But if things happens too easily and there's no resistance, I'm gonna get worried, because it means I'm no threat to the enemy. If the more resistance there are, the more of a threat.
I've seen that. The
he
more
wants to stop your work.
The more powerful what you're doing is, the more persecution you'll get. Pastor Mark asked this question, I think it's a good one. He says, did Jesus not send out his disciples before he ascended? Did they not come back excited about the fact that demons were cast out by them? How would this fit into what you're saying? And Pastor Mark, I agree. We are. This is my message. My message is create media, be an internet evangelist. But what we are saying is, it's important that you have some kind of biblical training or foundation. You need to be in fellowship. You need to be serving somewhere, because that is where, iron sharpens iron and those kind of things. But those are just our thoughts. I mean, we're not saying that's whatever. It's just experience from people that have been working in media for a while, and I knew what kind of damage I caused when I was just a new person. I just ran with it. I need to be grounded in faith and in Christ.
And if like I've mentioned, I think it will also kind of answer Mark's question. For me, when I was in the music industry, the way I looked at my own ministry is 10% of my ministry must be on stage.
Okay.
The other 90% must be off stage. Meaning that
you mean
I
that
must step down and minister to the guy off stage. I need to pray for him. There must be that personal connection.
I love what you're saying.
So it shouldn't be just, okay, I'm on Facebook and I'm ministering in front of a camera and there's no substance behind it.
I feel the anointing on that. I have to agree with you, and I have to say this. What he's saying is so precious. It's important. You will be on and live on Facebook or wherever you're
that
creating
should be 10%
media.
of your ministry.
It should be 10% of your ministry to God, right? What you're saying is 90% of my ministry should be in fellowship and contact with other people, but a lot of it should be in my closet, in the secret place, where I'm reading, and we spoke about it last week, reading your Bible, praying in the Spirit, fellowshipping with others, being in submission to people, mentor, accountable, all those kind of things. And I think that is when a ministry online and in media really flourishes. We've got another question. Mark Ellis says he agrees, so just he's
so we know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
it's good to know.
So Pastor Mark, I know Pastor Mark for a long time. We met on Facebook, and he's just, I love Pastor Mark. Thank you for your interactions and your contributions to the show. We really appreciate that, and that's what's going to make this show really successful. We've got Amanda. I don't want to talk too long about that specifically, but Amanda asks, the question often comes to, where do I go and study? How do we know that are sound? And so I think you have to look at the track record. For me, the reason I am at the institution I am at is because I know and I can see they've got a vision for planting Bible schools, sound doctrine, going out in the world, planting churches, and that's what excites me, because that's why I'm there. They've got a vision and program. I've been in churches before where it's just like there's no plan.
Yeah.
And it's really sad when God touches you, you're on fire, and you want to go and run with the gospel, and there's no development being done, and so that is very important, and that's also a way that you can pour yourself into others through media, etc. Right, thank you, Ion. That was a great discussion. We are about to land this specific topic, and if you're listening on the radio right now, it's very important for me that I see you. I want to just connect with someone at least. So go to your phone. The fun Henny Pastor Henny is back. Hello, Pastor Henny. I'm really interested. Pastor Henny, maybe you can help me. You've got my number, or actually, this is the number. This is the show's WhatsApp number: 072 452 0758. I'd love to have someone just interact with us on WhatsApp. So send us your name in a text, just the name, and then your question or your statement. We'd like to end off the show with that. Then I think, Ion, we've really achieved a lot in the show. We've got interaction from people on Facebook Live. We spoke about the process of launching a media ministry, and then there's a lot that we can still talk about. What is your final thought? Pastor Henny says, amen, the most impact is one-on-one, and I agree. Let's speak to that. I think you want to use media to reach a lot of people, but it's in like that in business as well. You use social media, you use social media and all these communication channels to get connected to people. So you're going to do that to have either a conference or a workshop, etc. And that Pastor Henny Leroux is very, very true there. You'll have to eventually connect to people in some way that you can do one-on-one. And I think we know how internet marketing works and how the media channels are built. It is to eventually get connected to a person on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah, that is very important. I think, again, if you look at Jesus' example, yes, he preached to the 5,000 people and he fed them, but he also went to, I don't know what's the English name, Zacchaeus. Yeah, Zacchaeus. He also went to his home. And yes. So Jesus always look at his example, and that's why Paul said in 1 Corinthians 11 verse 1, follow my example like I follow the example of Christ. Yes. Jesus, yes, he spoke to the masses, but he never neglected the individual. So that...
And he's still doing that.
And I think why Jesus had the masses is because of the individuals.
Of the relationship,
because he would heal someone and that guy will go and... Because why was Jesus so famous? The rumor spread.
Yes.
Of what he did. And that was the individual contact and focusing the one-on-one, and that became bigger.
So just for interest sake, we've got about 6 minutes left. For interest sake, do you think that was their version of going viral? Like the word spread about him and whatever?
I think so. If you really go deeper into writings about Jesus from non-believers back then, even non-believers spoke about him, and they wanted to know. I've got here writings from non-believers and believers, people who walked who were born in that period, and how he was affected about what his community of people spoke about Jesus. Jesus had a massive impact because of who he was. And I think that is... Back then, viral was word of mouth. Today, we've got technology that can do
amplifies it.
But if you really think about it, I think word of mouth is still the best.
Definitely.
Best way.
Definitely, and I think that's why Jesus said, "Go out and preach the gospel to all nations." It's word of mouth. It's getting the word about His saving grace, etc. If you are listening. Apostle Mark says, indeed, the fame of him went throughout the region, and so that's what we have an opportunity to do today as well. Is let the fame of Jesus spread throughout all the world. Let us be the vessels of that message and proclaim it, and we can use media doing that. So there's a big opportunity. Last week we spoke about the opportunity. And I have about 5 minutes left, and we're gonna just go out with a song about God's grace. But I want to just stop here and let us just pause. And if you want to interact with us on WhatsApp, you have one final chance: 072 452 0758, and we will acknowledge you. Otherwise, we'll just let people know about that. I want to just pause here and encourage you. And that's where I want to get to in a couple the next few weeks. You as an individual, I believe that God has a unique calling on your life, and I believe that He has placed a message inside of you. Now, you might not be called to an international multimedia, a church, a mega church or whatever, but I do believe that you have a way, or you have been called to impact others. Now, it could be through leadership, it could be through sharing from your pain and helping other people deal with it. It might be counseling, it might be whatever your gifts are. I believe that ministry media could be used as a tool to get that message to that. And so in this episode, what I want to do is I want to end off by just praying for you. And I want to ask that God opens up for you what your calling is and how He can use you. You don't have a pulpit, you don't have anything, but you want to share the gospel. How can God use you using media to really impact people over the world? So let me pray for you, and then we'll phase out. I just want to say thank you for everybody that participated on Facebook Live today. A lot of them from the Rainbow Gospel Radio community. I appreciate your support and interacting with us. I would love to do that. Pastor Ennis says we must open the program for people to phone in, and that is definitely, it's something that we're busy developing. I think we're ready. I just scared it doesn't work. So let's make a commitment, Ian. We're going to try it next week, that we can get people phoning in. We want to do everything, man, because this is a ministry media show, and we need to use all the tools that we have. But just want to let an idea. If you're listening to the show, you're watching via Facebook Live, I want to pray for you that God shares with you how He wants to use you in the future and give you the platform how you can do it. Some people are strong on Facebook. I've got a big ministry community on Facebook. Some people are going to be better on YouTube. Other guys don't like the videos and stuff, and they might be better at creating podcasts. Some people are creative and they create code cards and images and that kind of thing, and that's their ministry. But I want you to be inspired today to be a media minister and use all the channels that is available for you to impact other people. So, Father, I thank you for this great opportunity to minister in this way. I ask you that everybody listening has been inspired. Let them go and leave us comments on Facebook Live or send us WhatsApps even after the show so we can interact with them. But Father, just encourage them and make them alive and on fire with this opportunity to create media and impact the world. I thank you for the honor and the privilege for us to be able to do this, and let us make disciples through this program, and let people that listen to us be inspired, and let them go out and do what they are called to. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're playing music in the background. It's live on the radio. And if you have been on Facebook with us, or you even listen afterwards, you're welcome to post your questions. We will answer them for you. Remember, there's a WhatsApp line, 072 452 0758. We'd love to interact with you. I'm very interested, not just in the people that listened live, but also the people that will watch and listen after this. I know there's a community of 3,000 plus people on this Facebook group, and I want to minister to you. I want to equip you to preach the gospel, to do it through media, impact people, and get your message that I believe God has put inside of you out to the world. Thank you for being on the program. Thank you for the Rainbow Gospel Radio community for being on live with us. And I just want to disconnect here. Okay, and so the next person is going online. I just want to thank you all for participating and being part of the show. And we are going to do live call-ins. We're going to do WhatsApp as well. It's going to be very interesting. And I just want to stop this because I think I am now And now Brunel Anderson, I think, is next. So yes, if you can go listen, I don't know, Nico, if you are on Facebook Live, you could just post us. Is there an app that we can download to connect to the radio? I want to get people as mobile as possible and so on. Just again, acknowledge everybody that participated in the show, especially from the Rainbow Gospel Radio community online. I appreciate you. I deep gratitude and appreciation for everything that you've done for me today. And let's make this something that people can partake of. And if you're listening to this Facebook Live, please post your questions. We'll answer them even while we're not on air. I love you, I appreciate you, and I thank God for this huge opportunity. We will see you again next week. Thank you.